Good morning, Year 3. We're on Chapter 8 now. So Trevor has been arrested, taken to the police station. In Chapter 8. Parents do go on sometimes, don't they? And on and on and on. I thought Dad would never let the subject drop. The first hour was the worst, of course. Sorry, that's my cat. Come on, Sasha. You know what it's like. We've all been there. I can never understand why people shout when they get angry. What's the point? Usually they're standing as close to your ear holes as they can possibly get, so why do they have to shout? Dad had a good rant and rave. So did Mum. This bawling out was delivered in full deluxe stereo. There was nothing I could say in my defence. Well, what could I have said? I just let Mum and Dad get on with it and patiently waited until they had finished. Then they began shouting at me because they thought I wasn't listening. I ask you, even the Eskimos in Greenland were getting fed up with listening to them. Aren't you the least bit sorry? Dad repeated again and again, and his face kept switching from red to purple to white to back to red again. Of course I was sorry. I'd said I was sorry about 50 times already, but apparently that wasn't enough. I wanted to say, look, Dad, me saying sorry for the millionth time is not going to repair your mobile phone, but I had a strong feeling that it probably wasn't a good idea. We're going to have to pay for a replacement. Dad growled vengefully. Where do parents get these crazy ideas from? There was no way I had the money to pay for a mobile phone. If I walked Streaker until Christmas, I still wouldn't have enough money. Secondly, all my pocket money comes from Mum and Dad in the first place. If you look at it logically, that meant they would be buying the phone with their own money anyway. Another strong feeling told me that it would not be a good idea to point this out to my parents. Luckily, Mum asked Dad if the phone had been insured, and it had. That meant that all Dad had to do was ring the insurance company and tell them that Streaker had run off with it, or that some monster moggy had eaten it, and they would pay for a replacement. Dad was quite pleased when he realised this. I'm sure he knew there was no chance of me coming up with the money. On the other hand, he was still annoyed because he reckoned I was getting off lightly. How long were you trying out this totally stupid idea of yours? He asked. About half an hour. Half an hour! Another explosion from Dad. I was beginning to reckon that if there was some way of harnessing Dad to a power station, his explosions could be turned into enough electricity to light up half the country. Imagine it. People would be sitting at home when the lights began to dim and somebody would say, hey, lights are fading. Somebody go and poke Trevor's dad. That'll get them going again. Half an hour, repeated Dad. Do you know how much it costs for a half-hour call on a mobile? This is another continual source of astonishment to me. I'm 11. Does Dad really know I know how much his phone calls cost? To cut a long bawling out short, Dad decided I must run up a bill of at least £5 which I would have to repay. Dad seemed fairly satisfied now that he had delivered his punishment and I was left in peace. At last! So that was another £5 gone. So far I had lost at least £10 because of paying for the dog biscuits and the phone bill, and I hadn't actually earned anything yet. I decided to keep a low profile for a while. You know how it is when your parents get in one of their blame you for everything moods. Mum ran out of yoghurt, that was my fault. Dad couldn't get his golfing cap, that was my fault too. The car wouldn't start, my fault again. They kept glaring at me and muttering, what's that boy been up to now? I wanted to jump up and confess, yes, it was me. I really don't know what made me do it. I must have been born to be bad. I filled Dad's golfing cap with yoghurt and stuffed it in the car's petrol tank. Needless to say, I kept quiet. I didn't go and see Tina for a couple of days and walk Streaker by myself, which was a real chore. I was getting desperate. Over half the holiday had gone and I still hadn't trained Streaker. Just to make matters worse, I discovered that Charlie Smug had tipped into the tin bath frog spawn. There were great dollops of translucent grey jelly slopping about on top of the scummy water. I stood and stared, imagining what it was going to be like, climbing into that disgusting clammy gunge. Charlie couldn't go around doing things like this. It was cheating. I'd have to tell Tina. I bumped into Charlie on the way there. Or rather, he bumped into me. What you lover boy? Off to see your girlfriend? Charlie's got such a tremendous imagination. I don't think. I looked him straight in the eye. You've been up at the field. Yeah, you put frog spawn in the bath. I never. It must have been the frogs. What frogs? The only frog I saw was pushing a shopping trolley across the field with a bucket of frog spawn in it. Charlie was really startled at first. Where were you? I never saw you. Then he grinned. So what if I did? He said cockily. What are you going to do about it? He stepped closer and towered over me. Have you ever noticed that when people are far away, you can feel really brave about facing up to them? I reckon it's because when they're far away, they look a lot smaller, so you're not too scared. Unfortunately, the closer they get, the bigger they get. And just at this precise moment, Charlie Smug was looking very big indeed. It's cheating, I insisted, and all at once I saw a way out of the bed. You've cheated and that means the bet is off. We're not going to bathe in that old tin tub. Charlie folded his huge arms across his chest. I don't care, he sneered, because if you don't get in it yourselves, I'll just pick you up and put you in it myself. Got it? He reached out, seized me by both arms and lifted me 6 inches clear of the pavement. I could feel his fingers like Iron Man squeezing round my puny arms. My heart was thundering away and I really thought I was going to become strawberry jam. Charlie shoved his fat, pimply face right up close to mine. See what I mean? He grinned and plonked me back down. He pushed past and went up the road, laughing. I was not in a very good mood when I reached Tina's, and by the time I had finished telling her about Charlie, she wasn't very happy either. Frog spawn? Yes, frog spawn. There wasn't any frog spawn in there before. It's bubbling over with the stuff now. Tina was seething. He can't do that, she cried. It's against the Geneva Convention. We'll take him to the European Court of Human Rights. I nodded glumly. Yeah, he can't do things like that. Trouble is, he has. After my most recent encounter with Charlie, I knew for certain that there was absolutely no chance of escaping our fate unless we wanted to become the latest batch of strawberry jam. I didn't think life could get any worse. Streaker was uncontrollable and we were doomed to drown in frog spawn. What also gets me, I grumbled, is that everybody seems to think we're in love. They think you're my girlfriend. You don't have to look so disgusted, by the idea, Tina pointed out. Well, you know what I mean. They're all stupid. Yeah, Tina said quietly. Her face had this strange look on it as if she was smiling, but she wasn't. At least her mouth wasn't, if you know what I mean. That was from before. Cheer up, she said. You're such a pessimist. We haven't lost the bet yet, and there's still some of that £30 left. I've been thinking about Streaker and I've had an idea. What? Tina, the organiser. I'm the ideas man. I glanced at her suspiciously. Yeah, what is it?